name is Matt Timon. I have over the years I have spent over $6 million on insurance marketing, mostly in the Medicare space, but also in the life insurance space. I haven't messed around with property and casualty or really annuities or anything like that. But in specifically the senior insurance market, whether that be Medicare supplements, Medicare Advantage, the ancillaries that go along with that. Um, I have spent, myself and my team have spent a lot of money on Facebook. I mean, just last month, and I shouldn't say just Facebook. I mean all media platforms. I own a mail house. We do a lot on Facebook, Google, TikTok, whether it's organic, paid, everything in between. I think there's validity in a lot of it, and one thing that I have the fortune of is I've come to know a lot of people in this space, and so I've seen a lot of different business models. I actually own or have equity in 4 different agencies. So I have an agency in Springfield, Missouri. We have about 50 or so employees, and also have equity in 3 other agencies in Missouri. Those are partnerships, and that's kind of a shared services model where we do all of everything that's not selling and servicing policies, basically HR, finance, marketing, payroll, all of that stuff. And that's why I have equity, because we do a lot of that for them. We just try to make it super easy, but it's all a partnership model. And then I own 100% of my entity in Springfield, on pace to do about 16 to 17 million of top line revenue, maybe more. I just like to undercut it a little bit. And net out, about 20% is what we usually fall back into, because I like to grow and push and make things happen. But some of the things that I've learned over the years, spending so much money, whether it's, $70,000 a month in a direct mail house or three or $400,000 a month on Facebook, is it takes what it takes. And so I actually put together notes for this video, because I tend to get a little spread out in my thoughts, and I'll go on these tangents. So I actually have notes, and I'm going to read from that, but expand on them as well. But it takes what it takes. And so, a lot of people ask me, Matt, do like webinars work? Does this work? Does this work? Does this work? It all works. You just have to be the person that makes it work. Like if you've tried Facebook ads and it didn't work, it is your fault. Like there are thousands and hundreds and millions of companies and individuals making Facebook ads work. And if you can't make them work, your sales process was bad, your follow-up was bad, your creative was bad, your copy was bad, your funnel was bad. It wasn't good enough to make it work. And I also think that people don't give it enough time. They spend $100, they spend $500, they spend $1,000. Like, this doesn't work, I'll never try it again. There is a reason these platforms are billion-dollar companies. It's because they do work. You just have to be good enough. You have to split enough creative, enough copy, enough funnels. Your sales team has to be good enough in order to make it happen. And so it's not that it does or does not work. It's like asking, does direct mail work? Well, how many pieces of mail do you get every single day? Yes, it absolutely works. And one thing that I think people don't do enough is, on one side of things, they try too many things all at once, but then once something is working, they don't test enough things to make the next thing work, right? So I'll give you an example. When I started running the majority of what we do today in Facebook ads, we were getting $1 and $2 leads. Well, now those same leads are like $13 to $15. And as we push those budgets to $12,000, $13,000, $15,000, $20,000 a day, the cost per lead just continues to creep up. And so you can complain about that, and you can retract, and you can stop trying to grow, or you can build better sales processes, better tracking, and using tools like ROAS and Go High Level and all of these things to feed Facebook and the platforms what is working is super important. And I'll get into that later. But whether you're spending $10 a day or $100,000 per day, like some Medicare companies are, you have to build the apparatus behind it, and you have to backtrack into your KPIs. So if it's like return on ad spend, ROAS, some people call it, you got to find out what that is. If it's a target cost per lead, which, I think is somewhat irrelevant, then you have to backtrack into that, and you have to give it enough time to perform, right? So that leads me to my second point. Ad platforms are always going to get more expensive. Okay. These companies have to grow. Yes, there's going to be more advertisers get onto Facebook and TikTok and Google and all of that stuff. But in the age of AI, maybe people are doing something different. And so the cost per thousand is always going to get more expensive. Like tomorrow, the cost per showing your ad to 1,000 people is 100% going to be more expensive than it was today. And so with that in mind, you have to get every day, you have to get better. You have to get better at splitting creative. You have to get better at splitting copy. Your sales team has to get better. You have to get better because it's just going to get harder. You just have to get better. And I think with that in mind, like this, like for me, I have a lot of trouble, or at least like it's a limiting factor in my life that I cannot settle. We're doing pretty good as a conglomerate of companies. I don't have to work anymore. I'm 29 and like I've just put my head down for 5 or 6 years. Like I literally could retire today and would be totally fine for the rest of my life making no more income because of the money I've saved. But there's something deep down inside me that like I always have to get better. Like I didn't want to get up and work out at 5 a.m. this morning, but I did it. Some days I don't want to split more creative and launch that next ad, but I do it anyway. And it's because of progress. Like I always want to be seeing progress in my life. And so with all that being said, if you are not getting better, you will get eaten alive. Like if you're not pushing and grinding and making, or your team's not doing it, or you're not being the leader that can do it, you will get eaten alive in this ecosystem. You'll get eaten alive by the marketplace. In Medicare, we have half comp plans, we have no comp plans, we have plans leaving the market. Like if you're not at the top, if you're not pushing and making things happen and innovating, and like even me, a lot of the big time, people that I know, they're even diversifying, and so are we. We're running direct to consumer, maybe dental ads, or maybe hospital indemnity or cancer ads and things like that. That way we can diversify away a little bit. I'm not big on just pivoting when things get hard because you got to continue to push. But we're even pivoting a little bit into other markets. Not like we're not going way left and doing like PNC, but we're doing more direct to consumer marketing when it comes to maybe the ancillary products, life insurance, things like that, that don't have all the compliance and all the regulations behind it. So these are my tangents, right? I get off track. The next thing is we have seen, the reason I can be so enforced in this is because we just have a lot of data. When you're spending this amount of money, when we have we feed about 45 salespeople, and it's data all day. That is what I run my company off of, is data. And this is strictly off data. We have better return on ad spend by far off lead forms versus funnels. I don't know if that's a senior market thing, because I talk to, or I hear from, people doing high ticket, people doing e-commerce, and they'll say funnel all day. But I think it might just be the senior market. We see quite a bit better return on ad spend with lead forms if your speed to lead is good. So the difference there is like, I came from a direct mail background. When I started in insurance, direct mail was king. You could call those things 3 months later and they'd be like, oh yeah, I remember filling that out. You'd be like, sorry, it's taking so long to get back to you. And then in the in-between is like someone going through your funnel, and you can probably call them like 5 days later and they're still going to remember it a little bit. And then you have a Facebook lead form. I mean, shoot, they may not remember that sucker in 4 hours, right? Because it's just so quick. And I like that, but lead forms are only better if you have good speed to lead in your sales process. Okay. So if you're waiting 4 days, if you're waiting even 4 hours to call a lead, I would do a funnel or some sort of like higher intent, more steps to get through, kind of setup. But if your speed to lead is quick, like you're calling leads in 30 seconds, like we are, and we track that, I like lead forms. It always converts into better return on ad spend for us. Some people would disagree with me on that, but it works for us. So the new Facebook algorithm, Andromeda, however you want to say it, I've watched a lot of videos on it, and even Facebook like press releases would say like, hey, we need a lot of creative. But whenever you give the algorithm a lot of creative, it only spends on like 2 or 3. So I think that's a lot of buzz. If you're in Facebook a lot, I think there's a lot of buzz behind the new algorithm. I think it's good, but I think they're giving you maybe like Facebook is like, yes, we need a lot of creative, but I don't know if that is actually the reality of what works. Because we'll go throw 50 creatives into an ad set and it only spends on like 3 or 4. So we're actually retracting from that a little bit, and we're not giving it as much creative, or we're setting up different campaigns, different ad sets. That way it will spend the money, and that way we can split test a little bit better. And then my next point is, guys, cost per lead, even cost of acquisition is pretty much irrelevant. If you're doing if you're, buying calls and things like that, I think CPA is a huge indicator. But if you're doing your own marketing and you're focusing on lifetime value versus say cost of acquisition and backing into like making a certain amount on each policy because your LTVs are like $500 or $700, ROAS is the indicator. I mean, we have seen where like we'll generate a $2 to $5 lead, the ROAS is 2, and then we'll generate a $15 to $25 lead, and the ROAS is 4. Like the trade off. If we're going off cost per lead or cost of acquisition, I don't know if we would have made it this far. I don't know. Like my business is all self-finance. It's all my money. I didn't get a loan. I didn't take any financing. I own 100% of it other than my partner offices. I don't own 100% of those. But I don't know if we would have made it this far if we were running our business off of cost per lead and cost of acquisition. I'm just not sure, because for the past 3 years, we have used HiROAS and we have used ROAS as the main indicator of what we believe makes money, and it has thus far. And so I would encourage all of you, like, who cares if the lead is $25? It is all about what that lead turns into. Because you as a business owner, like, you're just trying to turn $1 into 2 as many times as you can, as fast as you can. And that is a core fundamental of business. Turn $1 into 2 as fast as you can, as many times as you can. And how many times can you do it? And that's the difference. That is the difference between someone who has 100 clients and 100,000 clients and 1,000,000 clients, is that they have just turned $1 into 2 faster than you. And you have to think with that frame of like, yeah, these leads might be $50, but are we turning $1 into 2? Or are we turning $1 into 5? Are we turning $5 into $20? Because you'd rather have that. Who cares what the cost per lead is? Who cares what the cost of acquisition is? And I say that tongue in cheek, like cost of acquisition is important, but cost per lead is about as irrelevant as it gets. You need to be tracking return on ad spend. The other thing that happens when you use an attribution software, say like HiROAS, and you don't have to use HiROAS. See, I'm starting to talk fast and I'm getting on these tangents, right? You don't have to use HiROAS. But here's what happens. When you make a sale, that person, that is a persona on social media, right? Like Facebook or TikTok or Google or like whatever, Meta, Instagram, that is a persona. They make these profiles. This person likes this, and they probably have this income. Like Facebook knows a lot about you. And if you don't like in an e-commerce, you can just install these pixels and then it tracks all of it. But with us, we sell the insurance company's product. And so if you don't tell Facebook what is generating you revenue, Facebook doesn't know who to target. They're going off a cost per lead. They're not going off what makes you money. So you have to, like, unless you're, if you're spending less than 10,000 a month, I don't know if this matters too much. You kind of know what's working. But when you're spending 10,000 a day, like my phone, every hour dings for $2,000, for Facebook. Every hour, $2,000, $2,000, $2,000, $2,000. If I was only looking at cost per lead, I promise you we're probably not going to be making a lot of net income. And that's what actually matters, is like, who cares about your revenue? That's why I said it earlier. Like, I don't know that revenue even matters. It's all about net profit. And revenue's nice. It's cool to talk about, but like, you can't pay your bills. You can't pay your personal bills with just revenue if you spend it all, right? But you have to let these platforms know what is working for you. And the only way to do that is, I guess, if you were to create your own API back into it, and you can do that with some of the softwares, but you got to use some sort of attribution software so that Facebook knows, or TikTok or Google, or even direct mail, which wouldn't be HiROAS, but we use a different setup. You have to know what is working. And then my last point is you're only as good, your marketing is only as good as your sales process. You know, like if you can squeeze LTV out of if two scenarios. First scenario, agent gets like a great lead and they sell it and they sell a med sub. They make $400 a first year commission. Awesome. You know, that cost of acquisition was $200. Your ROAS is a 2. Woohoo, great. Your LTV on that policy is probably like 12 or $1,500. Awesome. The next person sells them a med sub, you know, maybe uses Medicare.gov for the PDP, zero commission, but then they upsell them a dental, vision, and hearing and like a cancer plan, and they get $900 of first year revenue, and their LTV is 2,100. No marketing is going to fix that, right? Now you can put in levers, you can add back ends to your funnel, like, hey, like talk to the salesperson about cancer, and you can send them videos, and like, yes, that is marketing and that is automation. But no one is going to save you when it comes to like, how do we make these clients worth more money? That is a sales process issue. It is a sales process focus. You have to make your clients worth more, because if you're only selling this up, it's like, how fast can we turn $1 into 2? And whoever does it the fastest wins, the biggest, right? It's all about your standards. It's all about what you want. For me, again, like, it ain't about the money anymore. I just want to build something great for me. What you want, that's up to you. But you have to make the clients worth more. And the only way you do that is if you get a lot of referrals, you sell them more things, or you keep them forever. But I don't, and we keep, like, we have good retention, but I don't want to wait forever. You know, like I don't want to be the guy that's 80 years old and built a book to 1,000 people. And like, you know, I've seen it a lot, like, can't do anything because you're not healthy enough to go do things. It's like, why do we build this thing? We do it so we can do the things we want to do, period. And so I don't want it to take forever. And that's what these lessons, you know, if you're okay it taking 20 years, I would not listen to me, because it is nothing I say is going to work. But if you want to go fast and you want to turn $1 into $2 as fast as you can, as many times as you can, I would take a lot of these lessons. But like, overall, it is on you. It takes what it takes. You have to tell Facebook what is, or the platforms, what is working, and you have to make your clients worth more money at the end of the day.